All right, welcome to the Revero Success Podcast. Today we are being joined by Mitch Vidal, an actor and athlete and, carnivore-ish lifestyle guy. So, hey, Mitch, thanks for joining us. And please tell us something about yourself here.
Hey man, thanks for having me on.
Mhm.
Yeah, I've been experimenting with the carnivore diet since I think 2019, getting in 2019, something like that. And it's been an interesting ride. I've done many different diets. I was all vegan at one point, and
Mhm.
at first, at first I felt great, and I think I felt great in many ways because I cut out a bunch of a bunch of a bunch of stuff, a bunch of processed stuff. Um, and at first I felt great, but then because I relied so much on carbs, so much grains, legumes, that I was very bloated, very, very
Mm.
bloated, crazy gas, like clear out a room kind of gas. And I'll be at work trying to hold it, and it's just like, man, embarrassing incidents. But so and then, and then I did like keto. I did a bunch of stuff, but I found carnivore actually from Paul Saladino, who was on a podcast with the guy from the Plant Paradox. What's his
Yeah.
name again?
Gundry.
Gundry, right? Gundry. And listening to his argument, I was like, man, so I don't necessarily need vegetables.
Yeah.
He really convinced me of that, and I was like, man, okay, I'm gonna try this. And then I went I just tried it for a month. I did it literally just like hamburgers, just like ground beef patties, and I did some avocados,
Okay.
which just a little bit of avocado. Uh, and that's actually the smart thing to do because apparently a lot of people get the diarrhea
Hmm.
from like going on meat at first, like Joe Rogan got it.
Yeah.
And I hear that having a little bit of fiber, like from like something like a avocado, could help with that. So I never
Mm.
had the diarrhea, thankfully.
Okay.
But I noticed like boom, literally in a month, I lost like 15 pounds. And I unintentionally, like I wasn't trying to do that. I
Hmm.
got so lean, like so lean. It was wild. And I had trouble sleeping. Where it was weird. I
Mm.
couldn't fall asleep and I just like wake up and like I have energy. Let's go do something. Versus, normally I wake up just like a little sluggish. But
Right.
so like no boom, energy I noticed. I got super lean and it was wild. And the satiation was another thing, was just like boom, I can go. Oh, these go for hours, literally the whole day. Like I can wake up. Remember, I had like a pound of just burgers, maybe pound and a half, and I
Hmm.
can go all day until like late evening to like have that again.
Yeah.
And I
That's
was like, oh,
amazing.
that comes in so handy. Before I would
Yeah.
walk around like a jug of protein shake, a big ass thing of whatever, rice and chicken.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um,
That's very
go ahead.
common with athletes. I mean, you were already athletic, right, at the
Yeah,
time.
I was a college basketball player. So
Hmm.
that just ingrained in me, always working out, always been active, trying to eat right.
Hmm.
You
And
know what I
also eating
mean?
all the time, right? Because athletes
Eating all the
usually,
time.
yeah.
Well, yeah, because like if you're working out all the time, you're gonna always be hungry. You got to refuel, so you got to find ways to do that most effectively. But when you really, because obviously, like you always hear, oh, meat is bad, don't eat too much meat,
Mhm.
be careful. Then, or eat your veggies. It's just like all the advice we get. It's like all over the place, and then you
It
maybe
is.
realize, oh, okay, so maybe I don't have to eat these vegetables and these grains necessarily. I can just have a few ribeyes if you can afford it nowadays.
Yeah,
Wish
right.
I wish I could be ShawnBaker. God damn.
Well, he gets his steaks for free, I think, from,
All
sponsors.
right. I know. Must be nice.
You'll get there. You're an actor.
One day,
You
I know. I'm hoping. Right? Get
yeah,
like a butcher box deal. Just hook me up. Man, that's the dream. Now I can only
sponsor.
just have like ground beef. It's literally I can afford right now. It's
Yeah, yeah, it's
ground
tough.
beef,
But, I
and
mean,
it is.
that's but it's so versatile and it's delicious and it's fatty enough, so, I mean, I
Yeah.
like
Well, the
to
crazy. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, it could be worse.
Definitely can be worse. And the crazy part is that like the fattier parts are cheaper. It's
Right.
like 80/20. It's my supermarket right here on the corner is 5.30 for the per pound, and the
Hmm.
sirloin is 6.99 for
Yeah.
90/10.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, it's,
We all
it's
know
this
where we're going.
it's this upside down world. They don't value fat. They think fat is a bad thing, which is crazy.
Right. But then, yeah, and then, like I always heard about, like which is very interesting. Joe Rogan just had Diana Rogers and Rob Wolf on.
Hmm.
You know them for the book Sacred Cow,
Yeah, I'm aware of them. Yeah.
right? Of course you are. But very interesting talking about like the differences between grass fed and grain fed. Um, and there wasn't much a difference in nutrition apparently.
Hmm.
And I thought that was pretty wild because you always hear that, if you're gonna have like a regular grain fed cow,
Hmm.
you should always get the leaner cut because the fattier parts can contain a lot of the toxins that they get from the grain and whatever.
Right.
But then it's like, wait a second, so if the nutritional stuff is still the same or pretty like equal, it's like, why are you gonna pay so much more?
Hmm.
Although Whole Foods, like their grass fed ground beef is only $6 a pound. Might be
It's more
seven
affordable.
now. It's not
Hmm.
terrible, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know what
but
your
it's
thoughts are about that.
yeah. I think it's more of an ethical question. If you can afford it,
Right,
it's great to try to support like regenerative agricultural practices and animal welfare, things like that. But people often misunderstand just how good most of these cows have it, or the steers, that they are being raised on grass and in pasture for most of their lives, and then fattened up
right,
at the end of their lives.
right.
But yeah,
Or the crazier part is that most people don't understand at all is that a lot of these cows are on these grasslands where we like it's not edible. Nothing there's edible for us
yes,
except for them. Like they can eat this unedible grass and shrubs and all this like plant matter that's just like gross. They can eat all of it
yeah,
and create this like amazing animal. And then you talk about like the regenerative agriculture aspect of it, how now they can eat all those things that we can eat, and then they can just fertilize the soil,
hmm,
and then just constantly doing that, and how like it helps the planet by taking in the carbon, or it's like the what's it called, the net carbon.
yeah.
It like reduce it like helps the planet essentially
It's
be
carbon
greener.
negative. Carbon negative, I
Carbon
think is
negative,
yeah.
right? Like how
Hmm.
amazing is that?
Yes,
That
yes.
that blows my mind. But no one
Hmm.
talks about that.
They're
No one
saying the
talks about
opposite.
that.
Yeah.
They say the opposite. They're farts or whatever, blah blah blah. And even that, like that doesn't like I forget the carbon turnover or whatever, how that comes back into the environment and creates plants and water.
Yeah.
I'm not a scientist, but it's super freaking interesting.
Yeah,
It's
we're not saving the world by avoiding meat.
right. And then to talk about like, oh, like the impossible burgers, like let's eat that instead. But when you like look into it, like all these ingredients, like that stuff is way worse for the environment and the monocropping and how that ruins the soil
Hmm.
and all this stuff is like
And our bodies.
freaking and our right and our
Yeah.
bodies. But their argument is always the environmental, right? That's
Mm.
always their argument. Like, oh,
Yes.
cows are bad for the planet. Like
Yeah.
that's why we shouldn't eat them. But you're pushing this stuff that's actually worse for the environment.
Yes. All the factory processed
My
garbage.
God. It's just like, why? Why are you doing this? And then it's like, oh, because you're actually making money from this. You're like,
Hmm. In more
you
than
have
one
like
way.
stock and yeah, right, right. It's terrifying. Then
Yeah.
you look
But
at Bill Gates, the guy who was on this farmland, and it's like,
mhm,
why do you have all this farmland, bro? This is weird.
yeah,
And it's terrifying.
it's
If he's like, oh
creepy.
no, now you can't eat beef, but you got to eat this like super processed tofu thing.
Oh, don't worry. They'll grow some meat in a petri dish for you in a lab. It'll be
What?
real meat.
That's
It's
hilarious. What would you prefer to eat though? That or the if you had to choose?
the real thing, man. Oh, you
The
mean
real thing, of
between
course.
plant-based
Between
or
the
printed?
or the CRISPR, yeah.
Oh man, I don't even know. I would probably just fast for the rest of my
Right.
life.
Hey, some people live off the sun and just sun. I don't know if you've seen
Oh,
those.
breath. I'm not a breatharian. I don't think I'll ever be a breatharian, but so
Ah.
what do you eat? I mean, that's what you don't eat. So what do you
Oh,
eat?
that's funny. So well now, so right. So when I did the all carnivore stuff, it was amazing. I got super, super lean, but way too lean for me
Hmm.
personally. Um, so I incorporated some things back in, experimented with some stuff, and it was cool because with the carnivore diet, it's like a elimination diet. So when you
Yeah.
incorporate things back in, you see how it affects you. And I noticed how a lot of things like break me out, um, just like get me bloated, get me gassy,
Hmm.
all those things I start noticing. I'm like, whoa, that's cool. Like,
Yeah.
I love garlic. Garlic is delicious. I
Hmm.
love, frying my a steak with it and adding it to stuff like my ground beef. It just adds so much flavor, but it gets me gassy. And like I
Mm.
always get the burps. I get these garlicky burps, and I just notice instantly. And then you look up, it's part of the FODMAPs, right? It's part of like the fermented foods that like those and onions.
Hmm.
Onions are also great to add to stuff, but it makes me gassy.
Yeah.
I love broccoli. I used to eat so much broccoli and cauliflower. It makes me gassy. And it's like, God damn,
Yeah.
you know? So now I'm doing the Saladino method, which is essentially just beef and fruit.
Hmm.
Um, but I just started getting back in the gym now. So I am doing a little white rice now.
Yeah. You were doing that before, though. I know.
I was doing that before. I actually my rice cooker broke, so I stopped doing the rice, and I was incorporating like some like some tubers, some potatoes, plantains. But I noticed plantains, gassy, potatoes. Like I feel like I broke out more,
Mm.
and also I noticed like eggs. Like when I have too many eggs, it breaks me out. And I know Senadino talks about that, how eggs are like a low tier animal food. Out of like, I was like, okay, that's interesting.
Right.
That does if you have too many eggs, then you get like those like egg gas. I'm talking a lot of gas. I'm sorry about that, but it's just but it's just interesting, like how your body reacts to stuff.
It
Um,
doesn't matter whether it's pasture raised eggs or plain.
no, like that, it definitely matters. Definitely matters. Like when I get cheap eggs, bro, I break out I break out way more instantly, and again with the gassiness. I just
Mm.
and obviously just the color, like it doesn't look as appealing to me as the dark, beautiful yolk that you get from like pastured eggs.
Right.
But um, but
That's
yeah,
good to know.
now no, yeah, definitely, man. So and that's really interesting, and like the levels of it. Um, so right now, because things are kind of very pricey, I would love to have a New York strip, but right now, New York strip around my corner is like 17 bucks a pound, and
Oh
I can
man,
eat
yeah.
probably two of those things in one sitting. So, doing ground beef, I have some white rice, and then I have fruit, and that is essentially. Hey, I fast for most of the day, so
Hmm.
that's mostly exactly what I'll probably be my meal for the day. I might have a couple plates of that,
Right.
but essentially, um, yeah, but if I could afford it, I would just love to do just literally just steaks and a bunch of delicious fruit. But
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
I'm
budget
not
can
there
be a
yet.
real issue. Yeah.
The budget is the issue.
Yeah. I can't with inflation especially, things are just
Right.
getting.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like Costco used to be the place to freaking get some nice beef. Like they had great deals on beef. And
Mhm.
now it's like the regular same price as my corner supermarket.
Wow. Wow.
But maybe the Costco beef is better quality because I have heard really good things about the Costco beef.
Mhm.
And I actually been thinking about that, like the quality of the meat and how that does to like how my skin reacts to that. I feel like that can play a part. I don't know because I know people are trying to cut corners and I don't know who
There's
knows because
sometimes
you can go ahead.
No, do you ever worry about this? It sounds like you're almost in a way going back to the grass fed thing, kind of.
Well, I've been thinking about that. I actually wanted to ask you, like, where, 'cause I know you told me you source your beef, and I wanted to ask you, not necessarily grass fed, but just like from good, well known, established like ranchers or people who really treat their cows well. And
Hmm.
because, there's moments where you can't afford to feed them grass and you can feed them like high quality grain or I know like from the ethanol production, like the alcohol people like whiskey and stuff like they have a lot of like corn and stuff left over and they're
Yeah,
gonna throw it out anyway. So like I don't know, there's ways to do it. And I don't want to be eating like the lowest tier possible of quality beef. So I would
right.
like to know like where do you shop
Well, I go to
or
Crowd Cow mostly.
crowd
Crowd Cow,
cow?
but yeah, there are different sites. There's eatwild.com, I think, has a selection of different places to check out. They're different
Okay.
to source from small, local, hopefully local, but at the very least, small, well-run ranches and farms. Which is again, I think that it's great, especially ethically. If we can afford it, but at the same time, we have to be taking care of ourselves, right? So if we,
Right.
you know, if we buy the cheap meat and it saves our lives and our health, then that's good. That we can now
Right.
do more good for the world by taking care of ourselves however we can afford.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's wild what's happening in New York. Like, like this mayor, he's pushing this like vegan agenda. How
Hmm.
they're doing meatless. Was it meatless Mondays? And then
Yeah.
Fridays is also
Vegan
no
Fridays.
meat,
Yeah.
vegan. Yeah,
And they say it's not, well, it's not 100% vegan or 100% meatless, but it's still, they're encouraging this and they're reducing the amount of meat that's available to these kids. And it's, yeah, as we know, it's very harmful to remove that from
I
the
know,
diet.
man. Kids need like this highly level protein, and they're like, no, but we can get protein from plants.
Hmm.
But then it's like, no, because our bodies can't absorb that as well as we can the protein from animals, you know? And I love the idea of just like the idea that these animals literally have our same body parts,
Yes.
right? Like the liver, the heart, everything is like versus these plants is like a different thing.
Hmm.
And they
So,
don't want to be eaten. People don't talk about that. Like, oh, plants don't have lives.
hmm.
You think these things want to die? No, they want to survive and live just like us.
And they
You know,
defend themselves however they can.
right. How do they do that?
They slow us
100%.
down. They make us sick.
They
It's
make
a
us like they make our stomach hurt, and like that's why our stomach hurts, and we gotta like release that,
yeah. That's
to spread its seed.
exactly.
And we're like, okay, I'm not eating that again. I mean, my stomach, it's just like, but like, have you ever ate a steak and just like, oh, my stomach, and like, never. That
No.
never happens. Never happens. You're
Some
like,
people
oh my god, that was the most delicious thing ever. Like,
absolutely. Yeah, whenever people say that they when they eat meat they feel kind of weird, I always explain or point out rather that they're eating other things with that steak. So
100%.
they want to blame the
And,
steak, but they ignore everything else.
right, because they had like, mac and cheese as an
Hmm.
appetizer, or fried calamari, and like mashed potatoes as a side. Like no one just goes and eats a steak. There's no way. You have French fries, yeah, whatever.
Yep. Even
100%.
when you try to order, I mean, do you eat at restaurants a lot?
I do not,
No.
especially not in New York now. These prices are crazy. When I
Yeah.
go to Miami visit my family, my big brother, he likes to like, go out and but even then we go to like a place, I get a steak.
Right.
you know. But yeah, they want to get you to the side, some sides. And I might, special occasion have some mashed potatoes and whatnot. And then later, my stomach is like, oh man,
How much
should have had
wiggle?
so many mashed potatoes.
But how much wiggle room do you give yourself? I mean, are
So
you really strict?
I am really strict like in my regular life on a daily basis, but on a special occasion like my birthday, if I go see my family in Miami, a few times a year, I let myself go a bit. I
Hmm.
don't do this. I try not to do dessert though, but I'll have some like mashed potatoes and which for some regular people is normal. It's like a normal life. But for me, it's like letting myself go having it's like mashed potatoes or like
Yeah.
fried plantains. Just, whatever. Something just but I do notice then like, okay, now stomach hurts, I'm breaking out. I have really sensitive skin and I notice that with what I eat,
Mm.
which sucks.
Yeah.
'Cause,
Definitely. But so are there any other so you have you lost weight, you got more shredded, your energy and focus are better. Are there any other
right.
benefits you can your skin is clearer? I mean, there's a lot already.
Yeah, yeah. You know, it's funny. The crazy I think for me now it's so interesting how like once you start having beef, you start realizing how everything else is just second tier.
Mhm.
You know, and it kind of messes you up because like now, like I don't even eat chicken.
Mhm.
I don't eat chicken at all. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't buy chicken, and I don't buy pork. I mean, really, like I love bacon. I don't even know if I
Mm.
love bacon, but I don't like that either anymore. Pork. So I literally just eat beef. And I would love to have steaks every day.
Mhm.
But it's like I don't care to eat anything else, honestly. That and some fruit.
That's great.
And it's like, man, but it kind
What
of ruins you, like in life though. Like try to go on a date with a girl. Like
oh,
try to
man.
do that.
Yeah.
And you realize how it blows my mind how bad people eat. It's really crazy. Like I
Yeah.
hang out with girls and it's okay, so you wake up and then you just like, what do you eat? Like they eat like wake up and you just eat pancakes or like French toast. It's always just like something like really palatable.
Yeah.
They'll just order out and everything. Like I'll get Chinese food for lunch or just like bunch of random stuff, bunch of random snacks, or like
Mhm.
eat pizza for just like crazy stuff. I'm like, this is wild. This is
I
wild that like your regular is like my cheat thing, like once in a blue.
a super cheat. Yeah, your every day is my super cheat.
Right, right. It's my super cheat.
Like once
And
in
you
a
start
year.
realizing exactly. And it's pretty wild,
Mhm.
you know? So it messes me up because a girl wants to go to eat those, like, they loves girls. Girls love being taken out into like things with food. And that
Mm.
always involves things that are terrible for you. Fried foods,
Yeah.
things
I've
like,
gained
and go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was saying I've gained a lot of weight in relationships that way.
Well, people don't realize that every single restaurant you go to uses vegetable oils.
Mhm.
100%. There's no going around that. Oh, they use olive oil. Well, did you know that olive oil is cut with canola oil? You didn't know
Mhm.
that because they try to cut costs at every single level. So once you know that, even if you do get a steak, it's like they're frying that in vegetable oil.
Yeah.
That's just the
Yeah.
reality of it. And it's like the more you know, it's like yeah, like ignorance is bliss in many ways because
Mm.
now, like neurotic, I can't go to restaurants, and I do notice that I break out. Like I break out every time I go to eat a restaurant, even if I just get a steak, I break out, and it's just
Wow.
because you're eating these rancid fats.
Yeah.
You know,
Is what do you think about that the saying that you can't outrun a bad diet? Because it sounds like that's what you're saying. That ultimately your diet and your
well, I
lifestyle.
think, I think genes plays a huge factor,
Yeah.
genetics. Like I had teammates in college, African American dudes that like ate terribly, and
Mhm.
they were just so shredded, amazing, beautiful skin, amazing teeth, like they're
Yeah.
indestructible. But also they were also, early 20s, later in life that those things do catch up to you for sure.
Yes.
But I don't think you can, honestly. I think it's so important. I think it's more important of what you don't put in your body than what you do. That makes sense?
Hmm.
What you
Maybe,
don't put
yeah.
in your body. So like don't if you don't put in vegetables, if you don't put on like all these because vegetables is in everything. It's in
Mhm.
everything. It's freaking crazy. Like I was yesterday I was in the supermarket and I see this family. They're like it was cute. Like they're like buying stuff to make. They got like chicken and rice, whatever.
Mhm.
And and they're at the salad dressings, and you see them. Oh, Daddy, let's get this sauce. Let's get this sauce. Okay, we'll try this sauce tonight. And
Uh,
in my mind, I'm like, man, this is actually the worst thing you can have. Are these sauces that are just filled with vegetable oils and MSG and all this other craziness?
yeah, they don't know.
They
They have no
don't
idea.
know. And I don't want to be that guy. Hey, you know those
Yeah,
people who are like, hey, who like want to tell you like how to like live life and stuff?
yeah.
Like, hey, man, you shouldn't be eating this. This is not good for you because this and this and this. I don't want to be that guy.
No, no.
People
It's
got
a
to live their lives.
yeah. I mean, we share what we can, and that's part of why. And thanks for doing this because this is how we get the word out as to what
Yeah.
actually works.
Well, it's always fun talking to you. It's always a
Yeah,
pleasure. So yeah, dude, thanks for having me. It's fun.
yeah. Cool. Well, yeah. Would you like to promote anything before we go?
Me,
Or yeah, I mean your
let's see.
IG or whatever.
Well, I would say, uh, I just booked my first TV gig. I'm gonna be on Ghost season
Wow,
3 on Stars. So I would
congratulations.
say, thank you so much. Appreciate that. It's been a
Yeah.
long journey. So I would say go watch that. The season 3 comes out at the end of this year. So I feel like December, November. So just keep an eye on that. And yeah, thanks for having me on, man. All the best.
Awesome. Yeah, we have our carnivore actor, Mitch Vidal. Well, carnivore-ish, right? Yeah, carnivore-ish.
Carnivore-ish. If I had the money, I still do some fruit though. I love some fruit. Are you doing fruit? What's up, man?
I
Are you?
I don't do fruit, no. But
What,
what fruits do you eat, though? I mean, we should have talked about that a little bit. So let's just at
sure.
least
Listen.
touch on that.
Okay. Okay. This is the thing. This is the thing. If I had money, it would be different because like things are so expensive now
Yeah,
in an ideal world. But right now, I love oranges.
oranges.
Oranges are so underrated. It's like it might be the most underrated fruit is an orange. It's so delicious and like refreshing and hydrating. I think fruit helps a lot with hydration, especially when you're working out a lot more.
Mhm.
But oranges, avocados. That's really what I can afford at the moment. Oh, and bananas. I've been doing a little bit more bananas just because they're so cheap, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
But if I could afford it, I would love, pineapple. Love me
Hmm.
blueberries. I mean, they're all delicious. Like, name me a fruit that's not delicious. It's kind of hard not to.
And I guess,
And go ahead, sorry.
no, please. And what?
I was like, and it's the one part of the plant that it actually wants you to eat.
That's what I was about to say, actually.
Oh, perfect. See, look,
Yeah.
great minds think alike. But they're like, hey, eat this, please. Spread my seed.
Hmm.
Like, it's meant for us, man. So like, it's amazing the symbiosis, the how we have with plants, how we co-evolve with plants. Man, it's amazing. And don't get me
Yeah.
started on magic mushrooms because that's a different conversation. I don't know if
Yeah.
you're ready
Well,
for
that's
that.
plant medicine, or I mean, that's not exactly a plant,
Yes,
but yeah.
right. It's a different thing. It's like in the
Hmm.
middle.
Yeah. Plants
It's
is
wild.
medicine and meat is food. That's what I say. Well,
Yes,
you also eat
I
some
love
fruit.
that.
But you're a fruit guy.
I'm a fruit guy.
Yeah.
What can I say?
But more than that, you're a meat guy, right?
100%.
Yeah.
That is the majority of the plate. Um, and one day I'll be able to have just steaks for every meal. That's the goal,
Yeah.
right? That's winning in life. Like,
Yeah.
hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? Man, I want to afford a steak for every meal, man. That's the dream.
Heck yeah. Sounds good. And I've been eating a lot more steaks, but yeah, it's expensive. So
What cuts do you get?
I like the New York strip, honestly, quite a lot.
Pink strip is delicious.
Yeah.
I like that too. Yeah, the I like ribeyes, but some of them can be very, very fatty,
Yeah.
which also,
It's good for you,
is
but I mean sometimes you want some meat.
yeah, just like the texture of the New York strip is just like, man, this is like a
Yeah.
tough part of the animal right here. Also, I mean, tenderloin is freaking delicious. Like filet
It's more
mignon is
lean
like,
though.
man, it is, but like, how is it so lean and so tender and rich? Like, I don't understand that.
I think it depends on like where on the animal, like whether the muscle is used a lot. The
So the
more they use
muscle
that
is used
muscle,
a lot. It's the tougher it is.
yeah,
Is that
that's
what it
my
is? That
understanding.
makes sense.
Yeah,
Okay,
like
because
a chuck
most like the
steak
right
versus a ribeye. Yeah.
ribey's very fatty though, but to like a lean cut that's so freaking tender. It's like, how is this possible?
Ah, dude, making
Oh
me
man,
hungry.
you're making me hungry, but I got to work out first. I like to work out. Oh, another thing. I like to work out first, fasted,
Fasted, yes.
and then reward myself with just a monster plate. I feel like I earned it.
Yeah, and what do you focus on for
Oh, sorry.
exercise?
Well, um, I just got back into the gym because during COVID, they want you to wear a mask. I'm not doing a mask.
Hmm.
So I was working out outside, calisthenics, pull
Yeah.
ups, dips, and stuff. But now I'm back in the gym, and it's so amazing to be back. Like I didn't realize how much I missed it, and like man,
Hmm.
it's like my safe haven. The iron play. It's like an iron playground. That's what I like to call it.
I love that
I'm in there,
iron
yeah.
playground.
Like the iron playground, man. I'm in there. I'm just like just messing around, having fun, man. I'm like, God, I love this.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, man. I that's another thing. Resistance training. I think people should definitely do it
yeah.
for longevity.
This is all
100%.
such very this is very valuable information. I don't want to. We could talk forever, and we usually
We could talk
do,
forever, dude.
but I
100%.
think
We should do this again sometime.
yeah, definitely. And I think people are gonna get a lot out of this. So thanks again for being here, and yeah, we'll talk again soon. And keep eating meat and optimizing your lifestyle, man. It's
All right,
going great
brother.
for you.
Yes, sir. You too. Do a flex for him.
Well, I don't know if
This
I
is what
can
meat gets. This is what steaks get you. No, I'm kidding.
Mine is not as bulbous, but working on it, working
Bulbous.
on
What a word.
it. All right,
Your
man. Thanks,
vocabulary goes
Mitch.
on point. All right, my man. You have a good day. Happy Monday.
Yeah, happy
Get at
Monday.
it.